Welcome to the Friendly Moms Club podcast with Jen and Karlee. We're the new mom friends you didn't know you needed.
We are creating a safe space to bring moms together, lighten the heaviness, and find joy in the everyday moments. Together, we will share our own experiences of being new moms while navigating the topics we wish more people talked about.
Join us every Monday to hear us skip the small talk and dive right into the uncomfortable.
Happy Mom Day, Karlee!
Happy Mom Day, Jen! Very exciting. We love Mom Day.
We love Mom Day. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay. It was definitely a Starbucks day, so bless you for bringing me a Starbucks.
I messaged, I was like, it's just one of those days I'm going to Starbucks.
It was one of those days.
When you wake up, you just get the feeling, right?
Yeah, like it's one of those days for sure. We're both kind of, well, actually, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we're on the tail end of a sleep regression / teething saga. But our babies are 3 weeks apart, and they love to go through regressions and teething and poop problems all at the same time.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, just pile it all on us. But
yeah, why not?
Yeah.
At least we have each other to vent to.
We do.
It makes a difference.
Yeah. Sleep problems suck, but you know what also sucks? Body image issues.
Ugh.
Postpartum body image. That's what we're here to talk about today.
And it's a rough one.
Yeah, it's definitely, I've struggled with this significantly more than I was expecting. And it kind of like took me by surprise a little bit because I felt like before pregnancy, I put in a lot of work to kind of get to like a body neutrality position, like a point in life where like my body was not good or bad. I took away like the morality and shame around what anybody looks like. And then I got pregnant and all of a sudden I just like spiraled back into,
There's lots of different things I think that come up in pregnancy and postpartum to do with your body. And I think we've talked about this before, but we both had this mindset that, no, we had a baby. Like, we're not going to like dislike our bodies. How could we dislike it when it gave us a baby? Like, we both kind of were like, of all the times in our life, we're going to understand why our bodies changed and we are going to be able to accept it now because there's like a physical reason that people see of why your body has changed. So maybe it'll be easier to understand. And
no, that's not the case.
No, it didn't happen like that for either of us.
Did not happen that way. No. Diet culture runs very deep in our society. Yeah. And it's so ingrained in our brains that even though we had both kind of done the work to kind of get out of that, getting pregnant and postpartum really sucked us back into it. Now, it is important to say that we do recognize that we do not live in marginalized bodies. And while we both have and do struggle with body image issues, we still live in like relatively straight sized bodies, meaning that we don't face discrimination based on what our bodies look like. So I think that's just important to put out there. But even if you don't live in a marginalized body, you can really struggle with body image.
It does not matter what size your body is. You can have body image issues. And we shouldn't ever say like, oh, well, you're a size 2. It doesn't matter if you don't like your body because you're a size 2. Like, why would you care? But they can still, like, I've never been a size 2 in my life. But
maybe when I came out of the womb.
From what I've talked to other people and heard them explain, like, they still have a lot of body image issues. And that doesn't make it any better just because they're small. Like, it still matters. And it's
exactly. Body image issues often are up here in the brain. They're not, a lot of the times they're not based on what you actually look like. They're rooted in the patriarchy and that women's sole purpose in life is to look good for the male gaze and that
candy.
Exactly. And so it doesn't matter if you're a size 2, if you're a size 22, you can still experience body image issues. Although what we were just kind of saying is that people who live in straight size bodies do have like thin privilege and a different experience than those living in larger bodies. Yes. But today we're not talking about that. We're talking about just the body image issues and like the brain.
Like what actually goes on postpartum and what makes it difficult and some of the things that we've kind of experienced this far and what we've kind of tried to work on to be a bit more positive because it does affect your ability to parent and how you parent.
Exactly. And
which sucks.
Exactly. There's a whole, like we're the generation to break the cycle in a lot of things. And I'm really hoping that diet culture is one of those ways that we are breaking the cycle and making a change and that our kids are not going to be raised the same way that a lot of us were raised coming from parents of the like low fat diet world. That was
literally telling your child every week whether they look good or not because they look like they've gained weight or lost weight, or you shouldn't have that bun for dinner, or, you know, like that was very normal in the parenting generations that we grew up in.
And no shame to our parents or parents of that generation. They didn't know any better.
Yeah.
But now is the time we can make the change and stop commenting on people's bodies, because everybody can struggle. And the thing with pregnancy and postpartum is this is the first time for a lot of people that they have struggled with their body image, their weight, what they look like, the function of their body. Like, this is new territory for a lot of people. And unfortunately for most people, it brings up a lot of disordered eating or even eating disorder issues they have had in the past.
Yeah. No. And I think right off the bat, we just need to get it out. This bounce back mentality, we're just not even going to talk about it because we think it's ridiculous. Like, you don't need to bounce back. Like, your body just did a ridiculously insane thing and had a child. Like, you don't need to bounce back for anyone. Like, you do what you need to do to be comfortable in your body, because that is important to love yourself and to love the body that you're in. And I think it affects, like, that comes out in your parenting style and how your kids will see you and how they're going to feel about their bodies is going to be directly related to you. So it's important, but you don't need to bounce back.
Exactly. Even regardless of whether you had a baby or not, what you look like does not matter for your parenting. And the whole idea of bouncing back, it's like we're putting weight, little pun, didn't mean that. We're putting weight on what people look like and how that can affect their ability to be a loving and caring and kind and compassionate parent, because they're not related and they don't matter.
No, they don't. So we're just going to go right past that topic and move on to the next. So I think we'll just go straight into how everyone has their very individual kind of experiences with this. And so no two people are the same. And you just have to make sure that you are gentle with yourself and gentle with other people, because we don't know what they're going through. Okay, so I wanted to start off by going over something that I have never experienced. So I didn't really understand it until I became part of, like I've talked about this before, but I had hyperemesis. So I'm part of this hyperemesis group on Facebook. There's groups for everything, and there's a group for this, which was great. But people often talked about their experiences, because in hyperemesis, you'll often lose weight. So like, I lost weight and then I gained weight in pregnancy, but I was very fortunate that I still gained weight, and I still gained a good amount of weight. But it's very common in hyperemesis pregnancies that people will never actually gain any more weight. They'll lose weight and go back to what they started at, or they'll just lose weight. And from someone who never loved their body, they're going to look at you and be like, well, that's amazing. Like, you had a baby and you lost weight. Like, that's amazing. Like, good for you. I'm jealous. But they don't understand what that person went through. And they hated that they lost weight because they were terrified every day that that was going to harm their baby, that they weren't doing enough, that they weren't getting enough nutrients to actually keep their baby alive and healthy. And so all of the fear and anxiety and terrible thoughts that went into their losing weight was not a good thing. It was terrible and terrifying. And yeah, it had some negative consequences. A lot of people also write about digestive issues that they have now and an inability to gain weight again. And that can affect your supply with breastfeeding. So there's other consequences that have come up, and it's not just about their look or their appearance. And so I think it's just really important to recognize that we aren't just talking about body image issues for people that gained weight and aren't able to lose it. There's also people that have lost weight and haven't been able to gain it back, or they haven't been able to maintain a healthy weight postpartum to be able to breastfeed. So it's just important to recognize that we're not just talking about one side of the spectrum. We were talking about the entire spectrum, just all postpartum body issue images.
We experienced gaining weight in pregnancy and then being in a larger body postpartum. And that was our experience. But there are people, like Jen said, on the other side that struggle to keep weight on postpartum, that they actually are experiencing like weakness and fatigue and low iron, and they can't sleep and from weight loss and not being able to keep weight on. So our bodies are all so different, and having one expectation of what is going to happen when you get pregnant, have a baby, and then postpartum, it's just unrealistic. It's not fair. Also, this whole like, we love the bump when you're pregnant, and then the second baby comes out, all of a sudden having a tummy is like shameful, and there's stigma to it. When you have a baby in there, everyone loves your tummy. Everyone wants to talk about your tummy. They want to touch your tummy. And then baby comes out and it's like, oh, that's disgusting.
You have stretch marks, and it's like a little like I don't know what people call it, but like your tummy, like little pouch.
Your
like
little mummy pouch, yeah.
Like you get the little like...
Yeah.
Nice, because your tummy
nice
isn't just
cuddly.
flat. Yeah, exactly. It just gets a little pouch on it.
Yeah, surprise, you have organs in there, and one of those organs just housed a human.
Yes.
So it's going to take time to go back to its original size, if it ever goes back to that size. And I do want to say, I don't think that postpartum tummies and bodies are disgusting at all. That was me as like a member of society saying that. I think all bodies are beautiful. Everybody lives in a different body. Some bodies are bigger, some bodies are smaller, but all bodies are good bodies, regardless of what they look like.
And they had a baby. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Like what your body does to have a baby is phenomenal. It is incredible when you think about it and you think about how everything's stretched. It's actually insane that anyone would think that it's supposed to go back to normal overnight. Like when you think about it, took 9 months to do what it did. Why would it just happen like that it goes back to normal? Or it goes back to normal at all because of what it went through? It is so normal for it to evolve and change and get into a new body that then you have to learn to love. And it might be a journey of learning to love it, but I think you can get there. And I think it's important to really try to get there. And I want to give a shout out to the Birds Papaya because she has been like so good to follow on social media. Obviously, we don't know her, but we both follow her.
We'd love to be her friend.
Yes, we would love to be your friend. But she's shown so many photos and just been very
vulnerable and open.
Vulnerable about what her body's looked like postpartum, and that's involved stretch marks, her like little belly pouch, or I don't know, it's not even that. It's just her stomach, but
she's housed 4 babies in there. And one of her most recent posts, which we'll link in the description, was that she had babies and then she said her body will always look like it had babies, where some people have babies and then they don't look like they had a baby. But for her experience is that she'll always look like she had a baby. And that's okay. That's okay if you look like that and you didn't have a baby.
Yes.
It's okay if you look like that and you did have a baby. It's okay if you have a baby and you don't look like you have a baby. That's okay too. We all, like I said, all bodies are different. And we just, as a society, need to open our minds to the idea that it's okay to look different and that all bodies are good bodies, regardless of what we look like.
And you know what kind of bugs me? I'm going on a little rant here. Like dad bods. Dad bods are all the rage. Cute? And they're like, it is so great. Like, oh, dad bods, it's amazing. Why isn't a mom bod okay? Like, why is a dad bod okay? Like, oh, you had a kid. Like, it's okay you gained a few pounds. Like, that's okay in society. But if you're the mom who actually had the baby, not okay.
Not okay.
Like, how does that make any sense?
It just goes back to diet culture being rooted in the patriarchy that men have decided it's okay for them to have a cute little belly, but it's not okay for women to have
who actually had the baby in there. Like, that's the part. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It actually makes me very
angry. It gets me fired up.
Yeah, it does.
That's your sound when you get fired up.
Yes.
It's a good sound.
Okay, so I'm on so many tangents. I'm on a roll today. So
we're fired up.
This whole social media thing. So I follow the Birds of Pie, and I actually really enjoy following it because she's made me feel like it's okay to be okay in my own body, and no matter what stage that I'm at. And so she's been a really positive person to follow on social media. But not all accounts are positive to follow on social media. And it's very common that when you've had a kid, when you're pregnant, having a baby, you start following. Like you go on this like massive follow of all these mom accounts and baby accounts and all of these things. And a lot of them are actually detrimental to your mental health and your body image issues. And there was one person who I follow, and Kayla Itzine, and she actually made a point of saying, because she looked phenomenal, like she had her 6-pack abs back basically after 9 months of having her second child. And so many people commented like, oh, I can't wait to look like that. And she made a point, and I don't remember, it was a long time ago that I saw this post, like a couple months ago. But she basically said, like, this is my full-time job. Like, it's actually not normal to look like this again after having babies, but this is my full-time job. I've put so much work, like full-time hours of work to get my body to look like this because this is how I make money.
And she also, based on what she looked like pre-baby, obviously I don't know her I follow her as well, but she is somebody who likely would have a baby and, I'm using air quotes for those listening, bounce back based on society standards. She is just a thin person naturally.
Yeah, she's just a small person.
Yeah.
But I appreciated so much that she actually said that because she's trying to be like, yes, I do look like I haven't had 2 kids and I look still very fit. But like that's
her job to do that. Yeah.
So, and I just appreciated that she went out and put that out there because I think she doesn't want people to look at her account and be like, oh, I'm going to look just like her after having a baby, because she realizes that that's an unrealistic expectation for a lot of people. And she just wants you to be healthy and moving and learn to love your body. Like, that's what she wants. It doesn't have to be that you look like her. After, right? So there's really good accounts to follow and really terrible accounts to follow. So just make sure you're choosing the good ones.
Yeah. And if you're following accounts that make you feel icky, or they make you think, maybe I do need to lose weight, or, oh, I should look like that. And if those unfollow, I did a massive unfollow. I don't know if it was when I was pregnant or just before I got pregnant, of any account that just kind of made me feel icky, whether it was with body image stuff or just expectations of what day-to-day life should be like. A lot of those mom accounts where they're up at 5 a.m. doing a workout, and then they're showered and put together, and then they make every bed in the house. And it's like, who has time for that? And you know what? Some people, they're very efficient, and that is something that brings them joy. And if that's the way they want to live their lives, that's great. But that is not how I function as a human. And it made me feel shamed that I couldn't act like that or look like that or style my hair every day. Let me tell you, I never wash my hair. So
she actually does it.
I literally
she
do
tells
not wash
me her
my
little
hair.
like hair washing schedule, and I'm just, again, mind blown. Like, I could never go that long without washing my hair. It's healthy for your hair.
It's not for me. I'm not a hair washer.
So moms, if you're having a baby, that is a good time to start prepping your hair to not washing it every other day.
Invest in stocks of dry shampoo.
Yeah, it is a good time to get on a good rotation of like every week washing your hair.
Definitely.
Because like mom life, you won't have the time to wash it every day and blow dry it and straighten it. Like, that's just it's not going to happen.
I blow dry it once a week now, if that.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
So we are going to make sure that we'll put in the comment section or the info for this episode, just really good mom accounts that we have followed. And we'll take the people that we talked about already. And as we get into this next bit here, there's going to be someone else that I want to talk about. And so we'll make sure to tag them, some of the accounts that we have found to be really positive to follow, so that we can help spread the word.
Spread the joy.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So
what else we got here?
We talked, Karlee touched on it a little bit, but just about your history of dieting, eating disorders. They can come back after you've had a baby. So even if it was something in high school that you struggled with, it's almost like everything comes back when you've had a baby, like mentally, physically, it all just kind of comes back to the surface. So this can be something that some people just aren't prepared for. They think like, oh, I dealt with that. Like, I've worked on that. I'm past it.
Hello,
they have a baby,
was me.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, it's back. So maybe you can touch on this then.
Yeah, I really struggled with disordered eating for probably 10, 15, a long time. From when I was like 14, I was counting calories until like probably for 10 years. And then I played competitive sports. And in my mind, I always had to be a certain body size to be considered like athletic and fit. I would oscillate back and forth between being very restrictive and then going through times where I just wanted to eat everything, which is not healthy, going back and forth like that.
No, you need to find a good in between.
Yeah. And actually what really helped me heal was when I started traveling, and the thinking about food and what my body looked like were not at the front of my mind every single day. But interesting looking back at that, when I was traveling, just because my body was not stressed and I was relaxed and I was eating food for joy, I did actually lose quite a bit of weight. So maybe that is why the like obsession with what I was eating kind of went away for a little bit, because I was in the body that I always wanted to have, but I did it without trying. So that's interesting to kind of look back on.
But stress wreaks havoc on your body.
Yeah. So my whole life, it's been something that has been like something that I valued. What I looked like was important to me because I felt like it reflected on like how good of a person I was, which is not true. And then for maybe like the 5 years before I got pregnant, I really worked on that, getting to a place of like body neutrality, that what I look like does not actually have any effect on who I am as a person and how good of a person I am, using air quotes again here for those listening. And then I got pregnant and my whole world just kind of like blew up, and I went right back to those disordered thoughts about what I look like makes an impact on what kind of mom I am. People are like judging me. I felt so much judgment and shame for what I looked like. And I still feel this often, that people look at me and like, oh, she got married and had a baby, so of course she's sized up. Like, but yeah, that is what happened, because I had a baby.
I had a baby.
And even if I didn't have a baby and this is just what I look like, that's okay too.
Yes.
It's, yeah.
Someone else who talks about this a lot is Own It Babe on Instagram. Because
another Canadian.
Yeah, another Canadian. We're talking a lot about Canadians today. Look at us go. But she talks a lot about her eating disorders, and she's just really vulnerable about it again. And so if this is something that you've struggled with and you're pregnant or you're postpartum and struggling with it again, I would give her a follow. And I don't want to speak for her and get it all wrong, but she has some really good kind of like words of wisdom of what she's experienced, and that it's okay if you struggle again with it. It doesn't mean that you've kind of undone all that work that you've worked hard to get to another place. It's just, it's something that you're going to have to recognize and work on a little bit more to not kind of slide back into the dangerous
those habits.
Yeah, into the dangerous
Because
territory.
we want you to enjoy your pregnancy and your postpartum. And what you look like should not be determining whether or not you have a good day.
Yes.
That's so 90s. Like that's...
Or your ability to be a good parent.
Yeah.
So I think your ability to love yourself no matter what body you're in does affect your parenting, but I don't think your body affects it, if that makes sense.
It's
so
like
it's not actually that your physical appearance that I think makes a difference, but you loving yourself makes a difference in your parenting style and how your child is going to grow up. So that's what we really want to...
And I feel like you don't even have to love yourself. It's just not hating what you look like, and also not putting an emphasis on what you look like.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like you don't have to love what you
Yes.
see when you look in the mirror.
Yes.
But if you look in the mirror and you have really negative feelings, that can affect you day to day, and how you speak to your children and how you speak to others, how you speak to yourself around your children.
Yeah, I have already found myself, like had to catch myself because other people have made comments on my daughter's size, and she's a baby, like she's not even 9 months old. And like they're making just offhand comments that mean nothing. But I found I was like, it was
getting triggered,
affecting me, and it was triggering me. And I was like, no, like she's a baby. Like she's supposed to have little chubby legs and arms now. Like it doesn't matter, but I'm finding it's bothering me. And so I've had to kind of stop and recognize like, nope, that's not how I want her to grow up. I don't want her to feel triggered anytime someone makes any little comment about something. And we've talked about this extensively of how we don't want our body image issues to affect our children. We don't want to pass that on to them. So how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about them is going to affect them. So we have to try to really take away some of those words out of our vocabulary. Like we don't want to actually describe their body all the time to them and focus on that when we say if they look pretty or, oh, look, you're just, because everyone thinks their baby is the most beautiful baby there is, right? And it's common that you'll say that to your baby, but you don't want it to be in a term of what their body looks like.
Exactly. I actually listened to a fantastic podcast about this the other day. It's 2 Australian mamas called Beyond the Bump, and they had someone on, and the title of the podcast episode was How to Raise Your Daughter to Like Themselves or Love Themselves, something along those lines. We'll link it. And the whole idea was we are raised in a society that teaches women to hate what they look like, and also to what they look like is completely related to like how good of a person they are. And the person goes into all these different strategies on things we can do, things we cannot do to help raise this one specifically for girls, but it can be applied to all sexes. And it's specifically about how to raise someone to love themselves. That's good. It was fantastic. And I think actually, it's been on my mental to-do list to send it to everybody I know that has a baby, to send it to all the grandparents, because we grew up in a society where all like girls are good for being pretty and cute. And then boys are talked about being like strong and adventurous and
the providers, they're making the money. They have to have the job.
And
the
little boys climb the trees and the girls sit there and make bracelets and look cute and pretty. But that's not the world our children are going to grow up in.
No, and we want to be the change, right? Everyone wants to be the change, but our generation is actually striving for that. Like I think we have actually made steps in the right direction. It's just about continuing that progress, right? So these things are really good to learn, and it might seem very daunting. And some mornings I wake up being like, how the heck am I supposed to raise a good child? Like that seems like
that podcast episode I talked about.
That seems like an exhausting task, right?
But it is an exhausting task.
It is important though to actually think on it and take some time to talk to your spouse about it, because you need to be on the same page, right? And have these conversations with your mom friends. Like bring it up. We haven't talked about this in a big group setting with our mom friends, but it's something that I think we should. Like we have talked about, but we really haven't talked about it with everyone. So it would be something worthwhile.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Okay, let's continue on our little list
what
here.
What else we got here? Oh, breastfeeding.
Yes.
I saw a meme the other day and it was like, breastfeeding, like you promised me weight loss or something along those lines. And it is so true that some people do lose weight when they breastfeed. Some people gain weight when they breastfeed. I was one of those people, and that's just what my body needed. And it's very difficult. You go in to your breastfeeding journey, if that's what you're doing, and you have this idea like, oh, this is gonna be the best diet I've ever been on.
Because everyone tells you it's gonna be. That is what I fully believed would happen. And that was one of my main reasons for wanting to breastfeed, was because of that, which is so messed up. Like, but that's what it was. I'm being honest.
That's diet culture.
I was like, this is a great way to bounce back, with my air quotes. After having a baby, I'll just breastfeed. Well, surprise, my milk didn't come in. So it wasn't an option.
Yeah.
But I know so many people who reached out to me and was like, yeah, no, I gained weight breastfeeding. Like the amount that I'm eating to try to keep up my supply has made me gain weight. And that's okay because I'm feeding a child. Like my body is doing something like that. It's incredible.
It's hard. And like, there's the whole idea like, oh, your body's not your own when you're breastfeeding or pregnant. And it's true. If your priority is to maintain your milk supply, dieting, counting calories, and honestly caring what you look like can't be a top priority. Those things are like, they cannot exist together. And it's been difficult. I'm almost 8 months postpartum and still exclusively breastfeeding. And my body is not changing because of breastfeeding. I actually think it's holding on to weight because I'm breastfeeding, and I'm learning to be okay with that this might just be what my body looks like for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And that's okay, because what I look like is not an indication of how good of a parent I am.
No.
But it's hard to get there. And I'm obviously still working on it. And we are, like we said, this is a work in progress for all of us. It's more that we just wanted to talk about this because a lot of people are experiencing this, and then they feel shame that they're experiencing body image issues when they had a baby, and they tell their friends, oh, like, I'm upset, I don't fit my clothes. Oh, well, you had a baby. So like invalidating their not their concerns. What's the word? Like their struggles.
Yeah.
When society is the one telling us like, you have to have a baby and bounce back in order to be valued.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a little tangent there, but
no, that's okay. It's a good
what we do.
But it just goes back to like the things that happen postpartum. So let's just put aside body image issues for a second and just talk strictly about postpartum and the amount of stress that you're under postpartum, because you're hardly sleeping. You have this little child that there's no manual for. Like, they just let you take this child home and you have to figure out what to do. And it is just mentally, physically exhausting. And that just increases your cortisol levels. The amount they're crying all the time, that increases your cortisol levels. And that is really, really hard on your body. So when you think back to what is happening postpartum, and then you try to relate it back to your postpartum kind of image issues, no wonder your mind is all over the place. No wonder you're going to be having a hard time with it, because you're going through so much stress. Like, it's okay to just be kind of confused. Yeah. Your body's,
it's like, you literally feel like you've been hit by a truck after you have a baby. Well, maybe not everybody, but I did. I felt like my lower bits were run over by a semi truck. So, and also for me, I didn't think it would be a priority to change what I looked like after having a baby, but it was. And I was shocked by that.
Yep. No, I definitely was as well. I even told my therapist, one of my first couple sessions, so then the first couple months, that I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. Yeah. And that was really hard.
That was very difficult.
And I think all the stress and all of the not sleeping, and I mean, my really hard pregnancy, I was basically on bed rest for 9 months. So I did nothing, like no physical activity. I could barely walk a couple blocks. By the end of pregnancy, I could walk maybe 1 kilometer if I was lucky. And that's the most inactive I've ever been in my life. And so going from that and then having a baby, and I just didn't recognize myself. And I'm not saying that in like a weight wise, but it was just like how my body was like, it wasn't about the weight on the scale. It was like how my body moved and getting up and down from the ground. It was so difficult. And I had a C-section. Of course, it's going to be difficult. But that was really hard for me, because I was like, I want to be able to run around with my child and get up off the ground without being in pain. And like, I was just feeling things I've never felt before. And that was translating into the mirror. So I'd look at photos and just look at myself and be like, I don't recognize who this is. And that was really hard on me mentally.
Very hard. I can relate to the whole getting off the ground. I remember one time, I think I was probably like 2 months postpartum. So I was healed physically. Like all my stitches were healed. The swelling was down there.
Was all healed.
Yeah, that was healed. But like my pelvic floor, like I was only 2 months postpartum. My body was still carrying more weight. And I struggled to get off the floor, especially if I was holding Henry, and he was just a little peanut. So like his weight was not the problem. Yeah. And not that my weight was a problem, but it was physically difficult to get off the floor. Yes. And I remember spiraling and having this whole, like, I went from being an elite athlete in my, I'm using air quotes, prime physique and athletic to then struggling to get off the floor. And it really made me spiral, and it made me question my worth because, oh my gosh, I'm in a bigger body. I physically am struggling to do things like getting off the floor. And for me, it was like a morality thing. Like I am a worse human because I'm struggling with those things. And I just wish I could go back and give myself a lot more compassion. And I wish that I could see myself now that, sure, my body may not have changed that much, but we've talked about it before that we've been going to stroller fitness classes. And I have to say, hands down, that is the best thing that I've been able to do for myself physically, but also mentally. Getting back into something that makes me feel like myself. I love physical activity. I love sports. I love moving my body. I love going for walks. I love lifting weights. Yeah. It has been such a game changer to go and do something multiple times a week that is not for what I look like. The reason that I do it is because it makes me feel better mentally. Yes. I feel like myself. The adrenaline, what is it the endorphins when you work out, like it makes me feel like me again. And then that has also encouraged me to get outside more, going for walks. The amount of walks that we go for, and it's fantastic. It's for me. I listen to a podcast. We're in the sunshine. Henry sometimes sleeps. Sometimes we just stare at each other and smile the whole time. But it's been hard getting back into exercise and not having it at the back of your mind that you're doing it for physical changes. And it is okay if you are doing that as well. I would love to see some physical changes, but for myself, I can't make that my number one priority when it comes to fitness because it's not very motivating to me. But if I make my mental health and just feeling better, feeling more like myself in the way that like now I can get off the floor, no problem. I can do burpees now. I can run up and down the stairs and I don't get out of breath. And it makes me feel more like me. And that has been the change for me postpartum. And also we've talked about this, like Jen and I have talked about this, that in the early days when even going for a walk was really hard, my motivation was being able to play with Henry. I want to be able to go on the jungle gym with him. I want to be able to chase after him because the physical state I was in after having a baby, which is completely okay. Obviously I was not running around anywhere. I just had a baby, but knowing that when he does start walking, I will be able to go to the park with him and keep up regardless of what physically or like shape-wise my body looks like because I'm putting in the work physically by going for walks, by going to the stroller fitness class. I will be able to keep up with him regardless of if my body changes and goes back to my pre-pregnancy size or not.
Yeah, because we are not talking that you have to be like a size less than a size 10 to be able to keep up with the child. It doesn't matter the size of your pants. Like that doesn't matter your correlation of being able to keep up with your kids. It's just like actually moving your body. And you can do that in all different sizes. Like you can be physically fit and active. You can like be able to run after your kids in any size.
There's
like,
people
it doesn't
who weigh
matter.
100 pounds who struggle with walking up a flight of stairs. And that's just either because they are inactive or just physically there may be, This is a hard topic.
It is really hard. Okay. So we just want to make sure that like it's coming across the correct way because this is really hard. We don't want to be offensive to anyone. We don't want to put anyone down. We don't want to speak kind of offside. Like we don't want to make any of these comments to hurt anyone's feelings.
Don't want to be triggering. We don't, it's a very sensitive topic.
Yeah. And something we both struggle with so much. So it's hard not to kind of get back into our old habits of the way we used to speak about this. So we're
like tying the, like, you're good if you're fit and small and bad if you're not. And then also that, like, the more you try and like, it's all about motivation and whether or not you can, like, willpower, like those, we're trying to get rid of those words because you're not a good person because you work out and eat well. That is that. And it's hard for us because we were raised in a society where we were taught that like thin is good and being fat is bad. And now we're learning all bodies are good bodies. And it's a mind shift. It's something that we both are really trying to be more aware of, but we're not experts in this by any means.
And we both still struggle a lot with this. And we are working on it, but it's so important that we really wanted to talk about it. So I guess one of our big things that I want to make sure that it's coming across properly is that you can still go after your kids and be the fun parent that plays with them in the park at any size.
Exactly.
We are not saying you have to be under a certain size to be able to do that or under a certain weight to do that. That is by no means what we're saying. We're just saying we want to be able to keep up with them, which means we need to just move our bodies sometimes. And that doesn't mean we're moving our bodies to lose weight. It just means we're moving our bodies so that it can still move, so that we can chase after our kids and get up and down off the ground. And my daughter just started crawling, and then I'm crawling after her, and my body is just like, what are you doing? As I'm trying to, my knees hurt from on like a hard ground. And so like, I want to keep moving my body so that I can keep up with her. And I can do that at the weight I'm at now. Like that's not the point, right? It's just trying to think of yourself in a more positive manner and not associating it to a number on the scale.
Exactly. Or a pant size. And like, also, how freaking good does getting your heart rate up feel?
Yes.
Like going for a good walk, a nice power walk, even like a leisurely walk outside, the brisk fresh air, going to a fitness class and getting your heart rate up and being nice and sweaty after. Like my mindset and my mood for the rest of the day. Like I'm feeling more motivated. I come home and you know what I do? I actually empty the dishwasher instead of leaving it for my husband. And just
because you feel better.
Endorphins, man, they help with productivity. They help with anxiety and depression. Like
No, and it doesn't even have to be like fitness classes because that can be a bit scary for some people. But yeah, going out for walks. And when you have a baby, like putting them in the stroller is a good way to kind of be hands off for a little bit and give yourself a little bit of a mental break, because when you're holding them and they're crying and you're just physically touching them for a long time, it can be really tiring. So putting them in the stroller or even wearing them, because they seem to be just comforted by that. And so it also gives you kind of a little bit of a brain break as well.
Exactly. Get your cuddles in without them being angry.
Yeah. So even doing a walk, that's amazing. Like walking to the park and sitting there for a little bit. We know one mom, she rock climbs, and that's like her mental escape. And I mean,
she's hardcore.
I just couldn't do it because rock climbing looks so hard to me. But I think that you don't even have to do fitness related things for it to make a difference. Anything that's going to be a stress reliever for you and kind of take some of that anxiety and stress out, I think is important. So if you love cooking, but having a baby, obviously it's really hard to cook. If you can have someone watch your kids, you can like have fun in the kitchen for an hour and cook something that's good food that you are going to enjoy. I think that'll help decrease your stress, and that will make you in a better loving state about loving your situation that you were in, yourself, your child, like your relationship. It makes all the difference to do something that you actually enjoy.
That's not where I thought you were going with that, but I love it. When you were talking about fitness and it doesn't have to be fitness, I thought you were going to say do other things to help you just move more, like parking on the other side of the parking lot and getting that little walk, or like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Obviously, you can't do that with a stroller, but fitness doesn't have to be going to a workout class. Yes. It can be doing 3 5-minute walks a day around the neighborhood. It can be walking up and down the stairs in your townhouse. It can be, doing some jumping jacks.
Townhouse living is a good workout. All the stairs
I'm
with
getting
babies.
Booty gains from all those stairs.
So do something you love. And for us, we both like lifting weights, and for us, we miss that, and so that's been really good for us. But that's not for everyone. Like lots of the moms are like, we've never worked out before. They're still coming to stroller fitness because it's social and it gets them out of the house, and you move your body and it's fun. So why not? But you don't have to do that by any means. So I mean, if you want to, it's great. It's a good way to meet mom friends, like we've always talked about. But you don't have to do that. Like, take cooking classes. Yeah. Oh, we know some moms that like to do pottery, and I've seen some pottery and art classes. Like, just doing something for you that'll help de-stress your mind. De-stress your mind? Is that a word? I don't know. Okay, but you know what I mean.
Reduce stress.
That'll help
de-stress. Yeah, reduce stress.
Yeah, like lower everything. Like, just set your nervous system down-regulated a little bit is going to help in this situation. And I think that you're more apt to love yourself and to love the body that you're in when you're doing things you enjoy.
For yourself, yeah.
And not everyone is going to have a baby and is going to love parenting.
That's true.
So just having a baby isn't going to be this like, I love this, and all of a sudden you love yourself and your role as a parent, because it's really hard and it's a hard shift. and not everyone has that connection right away, and all these things that we'll talk about
that
another day.
Identity,
but just know that you need to do things that you love. And for us, that's fitness and working out and actually lifting weights and running and being outside and,
burpees,
getting sweaty, and we get like swass. When both of us lie down on mats, we leave like this sweat marks everywhere. And
which most moms don't mind. But I did notice the other day, the mom that was like behind me in the circuit, she wasn't using the mats. And I was like, oh, shoot, my bad. But hey, I'm a sweaty person.
We're the same. So
yeah, happens. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share about your body image experience with pregnancy, postpartum? Or do you feel like you kind of got all your points out there?
I think that we got lots of the stuff out there. It's just hard. And we really want to make sure that you understand that it is okay and that this is going to be a journey. You're not going to have the baby and all of a sudden be like, this is great. Like, oh, okay, there is something else I wanted to add. I thought about this earlier while you were talking, but...
Me talking? No way.
I
no
know,
way.
Right? So I went to one of my first chiropractor appointments after having a baby, which... might sound weird, but they actually work on your like C-section incision. Mm-hmm. And it was what the chiropractor said to me that actually kind of left a lasting mark in my head. And it's something I've had to repeat to myself all the time, that just because people talk about this 6-week mark, like, oh, you get your 6 weeks all clear, doesn't mean in 6 weeks you are going to be like, oh, I'm going to go run a marathon. Mm-hmm. Like, and she kind of gave me that reminder that it's okay if you're not ready to move your body yet. Like, everybody heals in a different timeline. And just because you might get the all clear at 6 weeks doesn't mean that you are on all of a sudden love your body, go out, do all of these things and feel great right away. It's going to be a slow process, and you need to give yourself some grace. That I mean, for me, it was getting to that 6 week mark because so I could work out again. And I constantly in my mind was like, I need to get 6 weeks, then I can work out. All will be fine. I'll get 6 weeks. I'll work out. That mentally helping me, I'll lose weight and I'll feel better. And that was what I kept telling myself. And then I'll be a good mom. And then, none of that happened.
No.
But her reminding me that, and it just kind of, it was like giving me an excuse to not feel like I needed to be perfect right away. I don't know.
We don't need to be perfect ever.
Yeah, I just really appreciated her telling me that. And maybe it's because it's from like a medical professional that I was like, I have to listen. Like, you're a doctor. But it was just so that I'm giving you that reminder that you don't need to at the 6 week mark be some superstar and be doing all the things. And it's just a time someone made up. 6 weeks is a good that you're clear to have sex now. You're clear to lift a stroller. Like, it's stupid. It really is. So give yourself some grace, and you need to find your own time that you are ready to get off the couch and really start trying to move and being okay physically, because there's other medical complications that might happen with your birth. People that have had bladder prolapses, that can be a tricky one to getting out.
That's a hard word.
Diastasis
recti, where like your abs We're not talking about buttholes this time.
I mean, you might have an episiotomy though.
You might have hemorrhoids.
That does involve your butthole.
Yeah. Well, it can. Not always. No, episiotomies are not your butthole.
But it doesn't go all the way to your butthole?
No. They do an episiotomy. That's when they do like a little incision, like a little snip of the perineum to prevent tears going to the butthole usually.
Oh, I thought it went all the way to the butthole.
No, okay. We don't want it to your butthole.
That's bad. That terrifies me.
A 4th degree tear is in and around your butthole, the muscles. It's that we do not want that. Yeah.
Everyone is different. There could be a lot of other things that happen in your birth that means
come up postpartum.
Yeah. That does not mean like you're going to need a lot more time than 6 weeks. So just give yourself grace.
And on the same lines that the 6 week mark for fitness and sex is just like an arbitrary number that probably some old dude made up.
Because he wanted to have sex with his wife after having a baby.
So it's all arbitrary. Same with the whole like 9 months in, 9 months out, that, it takes 9 months to grow, baby. Take 9 months to get your body back.
Yes.
It could take longer.
Could take so much longer.
You may never get your, again, air quotes, body back. I do agree that it has taken me, I'm at about almost the 8 month mark to kind of start feeling like myself again.
Yes.
I don't look like my old self, and that's okay because I may never will. But the whole idea that like you grow a baby in 9 months, it's actually closer to 10 months, that 9 months out, air quotes, should be back to your body. Like that's also arbitrary because everyone's experience is different. Everybody's body is different.
So give yourself some grace. Some
love, and you guys can remind me that when I hit that 9 month mark.
Yes. Yeah. It's really hard. And again, we said it before, but we're still working on this. But we just wanted to have a conversation and kind of get some of our thoughts and experiences out there. And hopefully it's going to help you give yourself a little bit more grace, and you're going to be like,
sure.
hey, okay, you know what? If I did a 5-minute walk today, that is amazing. If I didn't walk today,
that's
great.
also
Like
amazing.
I raised a human and I kept myself alive. Like that is hard work.
If you're struggling with body image issues and body dysmorphia and you got stuff going on in your head, just want to say it's not like normal, but it's common. It's something that a lot of us experience. It's something that is great to talk about in therapy. After you can talk about it with your other mom friends.
And oftentimes it'll go back, like things will come up from my childhood from it. And like things I didn't even realize were connected to my body image issues now. Because I was like, oh, it's just because I had a baby. Well, no, there's a lot more to it. Yeah. And so therapy is actually really good.
And like we said, diet culture runs very deep in our society. You're not the problem. It's what society is telling you. That's the problem.
Yes.
And that's what, hopefully, our generation, we're working to make changes.
Yeah.
So, and if also, just want to note that if one of your mom friends is making comments rooted in diet culture, that they need to bounce back, that they make comments on other people's bodies and their thinness or the size of the body, anything, it is okay to say to them, like, please don't talk about other people's bodies in front of me, or please don't make comments about my body. Like, it is okay to say those things, because a lot of those comments are very triggering. And for someone who may have never struggled with body image, or they're so stuck in it that, like, to them, what people look like is the most important thing, and they tie their own worth and other people's worth to what they look like, it is okay to say, like, please don't make those comments in front of me, or
they might not be someone that you want to have in your circle.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, right, like it might get to you. If they keep making comments like that, as much as you've worked on it, it might start seeping in.
Very
and you
triggering.
don't, right? It is just triggering, and we don't need that. Like, we already have enough hard stuff going on in life and in the world. We don't need friends or people in our circle that are going to make these comments and kind of bring up these reminders. So it's okay to move on from friends too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Say no to the diet talk.
Yeah. Okay, so the favorite part of the day is the Mom Day mantra.
Drum roll.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to say it for us today?
Okay. This is a big one.
Ba-ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba.
Your ability to be a good mom has nothing to do with the size of your pants. I'll say it again. Your ability to be a good mom has nothing to do with the size of your pants.
Nothing.
So focus on you and just loving yourself. And hopefully that will involve, like, the rest will come, right? The loving your body will come in time. But it's a process, and it's a slow one.
It's hard.
Baby steps.
Definitely. And there's, like, in this whole episode and this whole topic, there's just so much to unpack.
Yes.
We've talked about the patriarchy and diet culture and bodies being considered good and bad. And this is something we're working through. And if you're watching this, I imagine it's something that you're also working through.
Yep.
So we're going to hold space for you, because this is a hard journey.
Yeah.
And we're here if you need to talk about it.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we would really love it if you could subscribe to our channel. It really helps other moms like you find our content, because we just don't want anyone to feel alone in this journey.
Yeah.
If you're listening on a podcast, you can leave us a review. That would be also very helpful to help other moms find us, because this is a hard journey, hard world, and we don't want anyone to feel alone. And
everyone needs mom friends.
Yeah, everyone does need mom friends, and we can be their mom friends. We can be your mom friend.
Yay.
We can.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next Mom Day. Bye.